First this week, a global trade war. Malaysian politics, investment on 3 continents and fending off an aggressive takeover. That is Australian rare earths miner Lynas. Lynas has suddenly become the it stock. Risk, yes, but potential return huge. Now, why? Because in high-tech manufacturing, you need rare earths. Outside of China, Lynas is the only big play with its Mount Weld mine and processing plant in Malaysia. I spoke with CEO Amanda Lacaze and asked her first about China's strategy.
The China 2025 plan for rare earths is a vision to only export rare earths in the form of value-added products. So that would be, say, for example, in a motor or preferably in a car.
China first.
Absolutely. And you know what? My view of China is that they take a generational view. We tend to think in Australia much more in parliamentary terms, but they think in generations. Their strength in not just rare earths, but downstream products has been something they've been working on for 30 years, and they have executed excellently.
So you're responsible, Amanda, for about, 10% of the world's rare earths?
It's actually closer to 15 to 20%, and for NdPr, which is the light magnetic material, which is really the key driver of demand today because it's used in electric vehicles and wind turbines and electronics and defence applications and all sorts of areas. We are the clear second largest producer in the world, and we sit at around about 20% of the market.
Right, so for the future of the Western world, your organisation seems to be pretty crucial. Can you tell me, therefore, about the current state of the operating licence that you've got in Malaysia and your ability to continue beyond September?
So I think that the really good news on this, since last time we spoke, is that our Malaysian Prime Minister, Tun Mahathir, on the 30th of May, announced definitively that Lynas would be able to continue to operate. We continue to have discussions with the Malaysian government about the transition of one part of our processing, which we intend to build new capacity here in Australia and transition out from running that in Malaysia, and also in terms of the way that we will manage the residues within the operation.
Now, Dr. Mahathir, when he made his recent decision, mentioned jobs and the importance of jobs. On the other hand, we've got the Environment Minister from Malaysia, who was to come down for meetings in Western Australia, now not coming down, and she is still very concerned about the waste issue up in Malaysia. I mean, just what are the political risks? Are there any risks outstanding that there might be a change of heart once more?
I think, Tiki, whilst you mostly covered business, you've also spent a lot of time observing politicians. There's always risk with politicians anywhere in the world, right? But having said that, Lynas has been the subject of 4 separate scientific reviews, including the International Atomic Energy Agency and most recently the Pakatan Harapan government's own review committee. All have said it is low risk and we are compliant with environmental regulation.
Amanda, if there was a change of heart, though, in Malaysia, what would your fallback strategy be?
So we think that it's highly unlikely, but of course we have to consider mitigating strategies under all scenarios, but we don't think that it's likely that that's going to occur.
Right, well, you are, in any event, proceeding with this $500 million investment in Australia.
Yes, so we've actually set the capital envelope for both investing in Australia and some further investment in Malaysia because, as you pointed out, we're an important employer, we're an important contributor, and we are committed to Malaysia. Equally, we are committed to Australia. So where do we put the next big chunk of capital? because we weren't going to get much more out of the existing assets. And so we said we should do cracking and leaching in Western Australia because the economics are good and because doing upstream processing close to the resource is logical.
But the political situation
and then
has
the political situation
it.
accelerated that.
There is, of course, another option. Rob Scott at Wesfarmers has been very interested, and he wants to build out his processing area at Kwinana. At the moment, with the trade wars, the share price is very much lifted with Lynas. If there was a resolution on the trade war front, I put to Rob Scott that the lowering of the share price of Lynas might make it more interesting for him. And he said, it certainly would, it certainly would.
Oh, he's spoken on his own behalf.
But I mean, what happens if Wesfarmers comes careering over the hill again at a higher price, perhaps?
Tiki, I have a very, very full life. Dealing with our people, our business, our customers, our stakeholders. We've got a fabulous growth pathway ahead in terms of the work we're doing in WA, the work that we're doing to establish a presence in the US. I don't have time to think about anyone else's strategy.
So he'd have a tiger by the tail.
Look, March is ancient history. It's a long time ago. My life is very busy.
Part of your busy life involves the United States, Amanda. Now, your MOU at the moment with Blue Line in the US, that's about the separation of heavier rare earths. Is there the capacity to do that anywhere else in the world at the moment?
So it is in addition to what we do already. So about 5% of the material that we process currently, we produce into a product which is called SEG. It's an oxide, and it's a compound, and it's got 7 or 8 different heavy rare earths actually within that compound. We currently sell that to a separator in China. They separate the material and then it finds its way into the supply
chain. Now, these heavier rare earths, strategically, I'm thinking of the defence in the US, the F-35s and all of that. The heavier rare earths are critical?
Heavy rare earths are essential in any high performance. The magnetic heavy rare earth materials, dysprosium and terbium, are essential in high performance magnets, but a number of the other raw material heavies are important in a variety of other applications, particularly defence applications.
But can we say how long it's going to take you and John Blumenthal to get production up and running?
From the time that we start construction, and we had a small team go across to who are now starting on the design work. At present, we're estimating it's maybe about 12 months for construction and 3 months to get circuits up and running.
So how do you feel about this all personally, Amanda? It is really frontier stuff. I mean, you've got the US-China trade wars, you've got the defence of a possible takeover coming over the hill, you've got major investments around the world.
Yeah, my life's interesting. I arrived back in Sydney late last evening, on that sort of last flight that comes in before curfew at about 11 o'clock. And, this morning I sort of got up and my mum's with me and she sort of said, so what time did you get in and where have you been and why don't you look exhausted? And I'm sort of like, that's very nice, Mum, thank you for that. But yeah, I love it. It's great. It is complex and it is, I'm incredibly proud of the fact that we as a small, lean organisation can do the work across such a diversity of areas.
Do you think being small and lean helps?
Absolutely. We have short decision trains but I have some really talented people working for me, and I have to always make it clear that, that is the thing that makes us different. I spoke at our Investor Day and I said, we've got competitive advantage from our resource, from our market position, and from our IP. So our resource was a gift of nature. Our market position is a gift of time. but our IP is the result of the hard work of the people in our organisation. And it is the thing which allows us to do all of these things and with a degree of success.
Amanda Lacaze, it's been fascinating as always.
Thanks, Tikki.